Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here. So, we are Alex and Milena. Without further ado, let me share my screen. And we are ready to go. So, for the next 20 minutes, we will be entertaining you, talking about decentralized identities and how they can bridge the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 and lead to overall a more open world. So, first of all, a quick intro about us. We've been in the space for a while. I've been focusing the most on governance, game theory, and tokenomics, while Milena masters the dark arts of data science and architecture. And we are the team behind the SkillWallet and Distributed Town, the Dito Labs. So, without talking about communities, we cannot talk about identities. So let's start with what a community actually is. And you can imagine a community as anything that gathers up different individuals. So it can be anything from a governance forum to your colleagues at the university, or the creators economy in the metaverse, or even something simple and local. For example, a chess club where on the Saturday you go to relax with a good playing a few games. Now, the main assumption that we make here is that everything in itself is a DAO, and DAOs brought in incredible capabilities to Web3 space, together with being themselves the biggest innovation that Web3 can offer to people that want to coordinate, work together, and interact together. So the main value that we've seen since 2016 is that they allow the possibility that was previously anachronistic of really permissionless coordination. The fact that without any supervision between peer-to-peer, people could organize tasks, do something greater than themselves together. The downside of this is that despite their potential, DAOs are still using legacy systems, both in the way they organize identities, so the membership itself is permissioned, and in the way in which basically the identity itself is filtered towards a provider. You can imagine, for example, a social login or Google, or even providing your phone number or emails. Now, we don't believe this is evil. DAOs themselves are not evil, but there are some, let's say, side effects that decentralization brings in, and a brand new class of problems. So the permissioned system that DAOs adopt for their members is mostly due to the fact that they need to prevent Sybil attacks, fund manipulation, for example, for public goods, where different donors chip in together to try to provide resources and sustainability to projects in the space. Also, they need to protect value. That means they need to be mission aligned and, again, try to create a value-oriented community. Now, this, of course, makes sense, is meaningful, and DAOs need to prevent any form of potential disruption. But it also brings in some side effects. For example, you see this nice picture about random noise. A permissioned ID system defeats the purpose of Web3. Together with
and I just want to let you know, Alex, that we cannot see your screen. We're still looking at this title slide.
Perfect. So we talked about how DAOs are not inherently evil, and they need to actually prevent Web3 native issues together with Web3 native innovation. Now let's move to the next. Great. So, despite their good intentions, the fact of having a permissioned ID system brings, first of all, fragmentation. Identities are broken into different sectors, into different platforms, and together with that, it defeats the very purpose of Web3, that is the permissionlessness and trustlessness of a community. So, to work with that, we've been working for the last year on a solution called SkillWallet. That is a new standard that allows truly portable identities that are self-sovereign and based on skills instead of personal data. Now, before talking about that, let's think about what identity actually is. And I mean, we tend to think about it in philosophical terms, as such it was such an abstract term, while we would really like to discuss this towards with you, but let's do it during the Q&A. For now, let's just see how the standardization of Web3, together with, you can go to next, together with things like non-fungible tokens, allows to really make abstract concepts such as, for example, human capital, that is the set of personal skills, knowledge, and whatnot. You can stay there. I will tell you where to move. Really measurable. Now, this is extremely important because if you want to really move between one community and the other, or cross-network, cross-community, and really share value with others, you need something that is measurable and allows you to move value from a place to the other. So the way we designed the SkillWallet is to use NFTs to make the most traditionally intangible asset of all, the human capital, really portable, in concrete, and measurable. So you can imagine the SkillWallet next. You can imagine the SkillWallet itself as a sort of merging between your own passport, ID card, and a resume. So something that updates and grows with you. Now, in order to do that, we need something that really works. So it needs to be reusable, first of all, in order to be moved from a place to the other. It needs to be non-fungible, so that your identity really belongs to you and is unique, and non-transferable, so that, for example, you cannot, you can really trust your community members and make sure that they cannot actually sell their identity, their reputation, and all the different benefits that they earned to someone else. So as a last step, and I will leave the word to Milena now, it needs to be secure. We need to make sure that every individual is unique. And Milena will now show you the, let's say, the magic that we do behind the hood to make this happen. So Milena, I leave you the stage.
So when you start designing a system, one of the first questions you ask yourself is what property and identity should have. Even in Web 2, you ask yourself what columns will the users table have, or what permissions and things like that. In our case, we figured that our identities need to be self-sovereign, to be accessible, and to feel personal. So with blockchain, we very easily lose the personality since it's anonymous, which is a good thing again. So we wanted to ensure that every user is unique. And also we wanted to let Web2 users be part of Web3 communities. So we wanted a lot of things, and we decided that we're going to build a mobile app, which is going to solve all our problems. And then a whole entirely new problem arose, like how are we going to have the blockchain security if we allow Web2 users join and we allow Web2 kind of experience? So this is when the off-chain signature mechanism kicks in. So basically, when you install the app, the SkillWallet application, what happens is that it generates a public-private key pair. When you activate it, you scan a QR code. In this QR code, there is encoded the token ID of the NFT. The app sends the public key and associates it to the token ID from the QR code. And then we basically can have active SkillWallet. Every time when a user makes an interaction, what they do is to scan a QR code with a payload, with functions and parameters, send them to the SkillWallet contract, and then the SkillWallet contract validates them by calling the Chainlink external adapter. So our Chainlink external adapter, its only purpose is to validate that the signature which is sent by the application is made from the same user that claims to be. So we didn't want to limit ourselves to the use cases that we figure out would fit best. So this is why we implemented the SkillWallet Action Executor, which is basically an interface, and everyone can everyone can implement, and everyone can implement their own logic of their actions and use the off-chain signature mechanism, and this way involve way more Web2 users into the space. So Alex?
All right, thank you, Milena. So now, as Milena showed you, basically, we tried to focus on this technical design so that we could allow this transition between Web 2 and Web 3. So that means between everyday life and the digital world. Now, all of this becomes incredibly much more complicated when it goes to a coordination network, where people need to cooperate with each other and find their own incentives. So how do we make skills and reputation actually portable, consistent across different communities? So the way we thought of this sort of conundrum is making, like tying the SkillWallet between an identity and the community DAO. So it means that every individual skill is the product of a peer-to-peer interaction between members and a community, of a community. Now, since both NFT IDs and DAO communities are contracts, this means that any community member not only can interact peer-to-peer, but by being just a simple community member itself, can interact directly with a protocol, with a contract, at any time. So this allows us to create more additional use cases. So in itself, as you can see in this partners agreement, every community, every DAO is an automated market. That at the moment we have the three main trends in Web3, so DeFi, DAOs, and NFTs and events. But we plan to release a governance protocol later on this year, so everyone, any partner of us, will be able to create new markets that fit better their actual community needs. But the important thing is that not only skills and reputation can be measured, first of all, as the first time, but they can also be fair and meritocratic. And also it can be ported and moved from a community to the other, so that communities can build bridges with themselves, railways, and create new markets together, having already human capital liquidity there. Now, not only this is important on the technical standpoint, but it also allows the foundation for a skill-based economy. So in order to do that, as you can imagine, let's go to the next slide. Everything is an interaction. That's our main assumption. So now I will leave it to Milena to show you how we actually turn not only skills, but also interactions into measurable and trackable NFTs. Go, Milena.
So as a developer, how much relevant information is there on chain, which is not accessible in any way when you're writing your smart contracts. And this is very reasonable and normal, but it's also frustrating. Writing smart contracts is something very limiting. You should think in a very specific way for that. So, we kind of think about what toolings we can use in order to achieve certain goals. So in our case, we needed to track interactions, which means transactions per user with a certain contract. And with Covalent, we could easily do that, but we could not bring this data back on chain. And that's where Chainlink kicks in. And what we did is basically to implement an external adapter, which gathers information from Covalent about the transactions that the user has made with a certain contract, and then brings them back on chain, which this adapter is extremely, it's absolutely reusable, and it's open for the community. So you can imagine a billion use cases for that, like profit sharing or just on-chain analytics. Alex.
Awesome, thank you. So let's go to the next slide, and we are ready to go. So as Milena mentioned, we already have the next slide. We already have quite a few initial use cases. We've been talking on the main and most important fact on how portable identities are really sort of door, entry, passage, a gateway to a more open world, but also the off-chain signature mechanism that allows this bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, as well as the on-chain analytics that allows us or any community not only to be able to track what is really happening between their members, between members and contracts, but also to make meaningful evaluation of this data while keeping everything on the most valuable, let's say, human level. Now, as use cases for the future, next slide. Obviously, we cannot do all of this alone. We need your ideas. We need to build together the real foundation for a more meritocratic and interconnected world. And we can work towards things, as Milena mentioned, like profit-sharing economy as a standard for Web3 that allows communities to value the individual and the interaction rather than the accumulation of wealth. And as well as native governance that allows real reputation to kick in without being able to sell or outsource your voting power. So as a final remark, let's say we know we are very far away from realizing this vision, and these use cases cannot possibly cover all the different possibilities that a more open world, a more interconnected world can actually allow. So obviously, please talk to us. Join us on either Discord or Telegram. Check us on our website. We want to bring this conversation forward, and we're trying to set the foundation for a more open world. So we would really like to be free to be part of it. Thank you again, and yeah, we look forward to see you on the other side.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Thank you for starting this great conversation around the concept of identity, because I know that there's a lot of people that love crypto because of the anonymity, but as more and more use cases start affecting our day-to-day lives, identity is going to become a more and more important concept of what identity you can have, what you carry through, how anonymous can you be, how anonymous do you want to be, those sorts of things. So really great questions, and I love that we're exploring this.